All right, Shalom Aleichem, and welcome everyone. As we, Baruch Hashem, are starting the fourth book of the 5 books of the Torah, Sefer Bamidbar. Baruch Shechianu V'Kimanu V'Genu L'Zman Hazeh, that we have the ability to start Sefer Bamidbar. And Baruch Hashem, that many shuls are now reopening slowly, minimally, but Baruch Hashem Minyanim are starting legally. Today was the first day that in New York they legally allowed 10 people to get together for religious ceremonies. So it's with a lot of hoda'ah, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Gam Kain, like my father mentioned before, Barov Shevach hoda'ah, with a lot of gratitude and appreciation. We welcomed into this world a blessing, daughter. My wife and I welcomed in a daughter, and today, after getting the Aliyah, the Torah, we named her Me'ira. And may she bring light to all of us, and to all of Klal Yisrael, and to the whole world, and we should see the light of Mashiach. Meher v'yameinu. Rabotai, Sefer Bamidbar. Sefer Bamidbar starts off, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu that it's time to count the Jews. You have to count the Jews. Now, between me and you, Hashem doesn't need to count anything. Hashem knows how much is everything without counting. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's all-knowing. So why is HaKadosh Baruch Hu counting all the time? So Rashi tells us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves the Jewish people so much, and that's why he's counting them. Because of his love for them. The Kli Yakar gives him a shal, and the Kli Yakar says, imagine a man had a sack of, or a small bag of precious diamonds, precious gems. He would want to keep looking at it to make sure that he continues to have those gems. Like HaKadosh Baruch Hu has Bnei Yisrael, and he wants to make sure that he has them all the time. And so he counts them. And he counts them again. And he counts them again. And he counts them again. But the words that the Pasuk use to count the Jewish people are very particular and very interesting. In the second Pasuk it says, Se'u et rosh ko'adat b'nei Yisrael. Se'u et rosh ko'adat b'nei Yisrael. The way the Art School translates this here is that count. But the word se'u literally means to lift. To lift the head of the Jews. And the Midrash takes note of this. In the Midrash, Rabbah says that yes, if the Jews are zocheh, then they will be lifted. Their heads will be lifted and they will be more special. And if they're not zocheh, then literally lift their heads off their body. Cut off their heads. Se'u et rosh kohadat b'nei Yisrael. Lift the heads of the Jews. If they're zocheh, they're lifted above the nations. If they're not zocheh, lift off their heads, take it off their bodies. What a midrash. What does this midrash mean? Continuing in that pasuk, the pasuk says how to count them. The pasuk says, "Lemishbechotam levetavotam b'mispar shemot." The counting of their names. We don't really, when you count people, you don't count their names. You count people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're not counting Reuven and Shimon and Levi. You're not going to be able to keep a count that way. So what does it mean in the pasuk? B'mispar shemot, with the counting of their names. So Chazal tell us is that Hashem counted every single person by name, that they came over to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe was standing there with Aharon, with the head of the tribe for that tribe. And they looked at that person and they gave him a beracha. They gave him a beracha that he should be successful as the person who he is. B'mispar shemot. The Vilna Gaon says that in the olden days, if you wanted to know why you came down to earth and what your tachlis was to do, what you had to do, you went to the Navi, and the Navi told you this was your mission. When you came to Moshe Rabbeinu and Aharon and the head of your tribe to get counted, they told you, B'mispar shemot, that your name, you were destined to do certain things. That you are destined to get certain things done. And they gave you a beracha that you should be able to get that unique things done that are only associated with you. And that's why it says, Se'u et rosh kol adat b'nei Yisrael. Because if you're zocheh and you do what you're supposed to do in this world, you're going to be lifted. You're going to come to the highest of heights. You'll be able to go into Olam Haba and go into Gan Eden where you're supposed to be. But if you're not zocheh and you don't do what b'mispar shemot, what you're supposed to do with your name, then Chas Shalom, your head gets lifted off the body. Se'u et rosh kol adat b'nei Yisrael. Hillel says in Perkei Avot, he says, if I am not for myself, im en ani li, mi li. If I am not for myself, who is for me? You know what that means? Im en ani li. If I don't do what I'm supposed to do, mi li, who else can do it? There's no one else that can do it. Everybody has the unique abilities. Their shemot, their name, what they can do that no one else can do. And that is the mission of every Jew, to use their own abilities. So you'll ask, the Gaon says that in the times of the prophet, you were able to go to the prophet and find out. What about nowadays? So there's two ways. I'm going to tell you how we can find out what our mission in life is. A, any challenge that you have, that the Yetzer Hara works on you, on that Averah, that is one of the missions you have in life to overcome. As is said in Perkei Avot, Ezehu Gibor, HaKovesh et Yitzro, conquers his Yetzer Hara, not someone else's Yetzer Hara. Some people have the Yetzer Hara talking shul. Some people don't have the Yetzer Hara. Some people have the Yetzer Hara to look at things they're not supposed to. Some people don't have the Yetzer Hara. Everyone has to fight their own Yetzer Hara. That's why you have a mission. We have a mission. And everyone's mission is different. We can't compare ourselves to someone else. We have to look at ourselves. We have to say, what do we have? What is our job in life? Looking around is not going to help us, because what they're supposed to do is what they're supposed to do. What I'm supposed to do is what I'm supposed to do. There's a famous story that's told over that Yishol Salanter's student, Rav Naftali Amsterdam, once told his Rabbi Yishol Salanter, he said to him, if only I had the head of the Gaon Shagas Aryeh, and if I had the heart of the Yisod V'Shalosh HaAvodam, and if I had the midot of Rabbi Yishol Salanter, only then I would be able to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu properly. And Yishol Salanter answered his student and said to him, Hashem doesn't want you to have the head of the Shagas Aryeh. He doesn't want you to have the heart of the Yisod V'Shalosh HaAvodah. He doesn't want you to have anything that anyone else has. He wants you to have what you have and to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu with that. There's a story that's told over that a doctor who lived in Germany, in the very secular, very refined, and a very advanced culture of Europe, he was a Jewish doctor, and he was a religious doctor. And he kept the Torah and mitzvot, performed a lot of chesed. He helped a lot of people. He learned Torah every day. He also gave a class in Torah every day. And he felt that he was following in the footsteps of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to do the Torah mitzvot. No, he saved up some vacation time and he decided he was going to go and visit the great cities of Torah in Lithuania, in the yeshivot of Lithuania. And so he left Germany and he traveled to Lithuania. And he came into the yeshivot and he saw in the yeshivot how people were living. He saw how the students had almost no food to eat, how people's houses were all broken down, no running water, no electricity, backwards country compared to Germany at that time. And he saw people learning Torah b'hasmada, misirat nefesh. He couldn't believe it. He said, all this time I thought that I was serving Hashem to the highest ability. And here I'm seeing how other people are serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And they're serving it on a whole different level, a level that I can't reach. And he felt bad about it. I have everything, he says, and I'm also learning Torah. These guys have nothing, and they're learning Torah. They're so much more holier than me. He felt bad. He felt depressed. So someone sent him and told him, go to the Hafetz Chaim. Go to the Hafetz Chaim in Radin, and find out what he has to say about this. Maybe he'll help you. So he goes to the Hafetz Chaim in Radin. Just to see the Hafetz Chaim was a big zechut. And he tells the Hafetz Chaim what he thought, how he thought he was religious, how he thought he was on top of the line. He was doing the best that he could do. And now he sees how people are really serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu on a whole different level. A level that he can't reach. And the Hafetz Chaim answered him. The Hafetz Chaim said to him, you know, it says in Parashat Bereshit, Ve'etz ha'chaim betoch hagan, that Hashem planted or created the tree of life, betoch hagan, in the center of Gan Eden. Hafetz Chaim says, why do I have to know what's in the center? Just tell me that there is an Etz ha'chaim. The Hafetz Chaim says, you know why it has to tell us that it's in the center? Because when something is in the center, you can reach it from every side and from every angle. He says to this doctor, he says to him, there are some people who learn Torah b'misrat nefesh, and that's their way of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And there's some people who, how do they serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu? They serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu by doing Hesed. Some serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu by doing tzedakah. Some serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu with their talents and with their things that they have. Don't you see? Hashem planted me here in Radin, and Hashem planted those yeshiva students in Lithuania, and Hashem planted you in Germany to do what you do, to do what you can do with your abilities, and to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and to follow the Etz HaChaim that's betoch hagan. Because everybody's abilities are different. And everybody's kohot are different. His talents, his powers, his strengths. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want cookie cutter. You know, he doesn't want everyone looking the same, acting the same. If he wanted everyone looking the same, he would have made everybody with the same hair color, the same nose, same eyes, same everything. It would be kind of boring. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu created everybody differently. And Hashem created everybody with different unique abilities. And with those unique abilities, we can be counted b'mispar shemot, with the counting of our names. And we can find what our mission in life is to do. Whether what challenges the Yetzer Hara to fight, and whether which mitzvot we love so much that we want to do more and more. And with those, we're able to do our mission in life. And be able to do se'u idrosh kol adat b'nei Yisrael. Not to lift our heads off our body, chas v'shalom, but to lift ourselves to reach the highest pinnacle and to reach HaKadosh Baruch Hu the way He wanted us to serve Him. And that is the first lesson that we learn in this week's parasha, a lesson that is very, very crucial as we're coming to the Yom Tov of Shavuot. Because on Shavuot, we know we all get the Torah, okay? I know after speaking to you guys already 6-7 years, giving shiurim, we all know that Shavuot is not the cheesecake holiday, but Shavuot is the holiday that we got the Torah. And the Torah is for everyone. No one can say, I don't have a halak in Torah. Or no one can say, I tried learning Torah and it didn't work. The Gemara already tells us, if a person says, I tried and it didn't work, you don't believe him. Because if you really try, you'll know it. You'll get it. I want to tell you a story I heard from Rav Nachum Cooper, Zechat Tzadik L'Bracha. He said in B'Shem Rav Meir Shapiro, Zechat Tzadik L'Bracha. There was a father. He had 3 sons. And the father was, he's getting older. And his friends were starting to be niftar. They were starting to die and go to Olam Haba. So one day he came home and he's thinking, what's going to be with me when I die? What are my children going to do for me? He says, you know what? Let me go and talk to my children. So he goes to his oldest child's home and he tells him, tell me, when I'm being niftar, when I'm going to die, what are you going to do for me? What's the chutim you're going to do for me? He says, Tati, don't talk like that. Don't talk like that. You're going to live much longer. He says, tell me, what are you going to do for me? He says, Tati, Abba, Papa, you know what I'm going to do for you? I'm going to build a shul. And I'm going to name it after you. And I'm going to bring all the sidurim in your zechut. And I'm going to do everything for you. It's going to be everything for you. Father said, beautiful. Wow, what a good son. Thank you. He goes to his second son. And he tells his second son, you know, I went to your older brother and I told him what are you going to do? And he told me he's going to build a shul for me. What are you going to do when I die? What are you going to do? He says to his father, well, he's going to build a shul. I'm going to build a yeshiva for you. And I'm going to dedicate the building for you. And all the gemarot and all the tzfarim and everything's going to be for you. All the zuchitim is going to be for you. Tati, I'm going to take care of you. He says, wow, what a chesed. What beauty. What great stuff. Beautiful. He goes to his third son. He tells his third son, your first son said, your older brother said he's going to build me a shul. Your other brother said he's going to build me a yeshiva. What are you going to do for me when I'm niftar? What are you going to do for me? So he says to his father, I can't tell you. I want to show it to you. He says, show it to me. What do you mean by that? He says, Tati, look, there's 2 bags of candles over here. I'm going to pick up one heavy bag of candles. You take the second bag of candles. Let's go on a walk. I'm going to show you something very, very special. So they start to go on a walk. The father thinks his third son has gone meshuga. He's gone crazy. He says, what candles? What do I need candles for? And he leaves a bag of candles at home. And they're walking and walking. And it's starting to get dark. And they enter a cave. And the son takes out his candle. And he starts to light one candle. As he goes out, he puts the second candle, the third candle, and he eats through the whole bag of candles. The father says to him, my son, where are we going? What are you doing? He says, Tati, Daddy, give me the candles that are in your bag. Let me turn them on. Dad says, hey, boy, I didn't take no candles with me. I thought you were crazy. I don't need candles. I'm not taking candles. The candles are not here. Son says, Dad, but if you don't bring the candles, how are we going to be able to go anywhere else? We're going to be stuck here. Father said, I don't understand you. What are you talking about? He says, Tati, don't you understand? You got to take yourself. Everyone can promise you from today till tomorrow they're going to do for you stuff. They're going to make for you this. They're going to learn for you. This is impossible. We can only take you so much. You got to take yourself the rest of the way. You got to also do. People say Tehillim when someone's sick, when someone has shalom is not feeling well. Why do they wait? Why don't they say Tehillim now? Why don't they say Tehillim now to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu that they're healthy, to keep them healthy? People learn Mishnayot when someone is niftar, the Mishnah, the same otiyot of Nishama. Why only after someone passed away? Why don't you say for your own neshama now? To keep you alive and to take you to the next world when you niftar. People have to take care of themselves. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Torah not for someone else to do for you. Or not for someone else to learn for someone else. Everybody has to learn Torah. Now, there's different levels of how much you can learn and who can learn, what level you can learn at. But there's no one that can be patur from learning Torah. Everybody has their unique abilities. And in what areas of Torah they're more fond of learning and what they can learn more and learn better. And everyone has a responsibility to reach those levels and to do those things. And don't rely on anyone else to do anything for you. You have a job to do it, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help you. You start, and Hashem will take you along the way. I want to move on to a second lesson on this week's parasha. And this week's parasha is very connected to what we're saying right now. The pasuk tells us in Perek Gimel, in pasuk 15 and 16, Moshe Rabbeinu gets a commandment. He says, Hashem tells him to go and count the Leviim, Pekod b'nei Levi lebedotam, lemishpachotam, kol zachar bechodesh v'mala tifkidem. Hashem says, count every Levi from 1 month old and on. You have to count every Levi. Moshe now has to go to every house and ask them how many babies you have, anyone a month and older, and he has to find out every male, then everywhere. Now, the first question is, why by Bnei Yisrael we count when the child is 20 years old and on? And why by Bnei Levi we're counting from a month? Why is Levi so special? At 1 month old, they're already being counted. It's not like a 1 month old baby is going to the Mikdash, he's going to the Mishkan to work there. It's not like he's doing anything there. He can't do anything. So why are you counting a 1 month old baby? Rav Moshe Feinstein, Zecher Tzadik Lebracha, explains. And he says, the Bnei Yisrael, every Shevet is busy working their land. Every Shevet is busy with money, with parnasah. And so they may not have enough time to take care of their children and teach them properly. So until the child is 20 years old, we don't know in which direction they're going to go. And so we have to wait till 20 to ascertain on what derech they're going to be at. But he says, Bnei Levi, the children of Levi, they're working in the Mikdash all the time. They're always involved with Torah. They're always involved in Torah, in mitzvot, masim tovim, that we can be guaranteed that they, from even 1 month old, the baby is already going to be b'derech HaTorah. Meaning, the influence in the house, the influence that the parents give to the children, already from a little baby, it already goes on. And a person has to be very careful about that. Rav Elchanan Wasserman, Zecher Tzadik Lebracha, was once collecting funds. And he was walking around in the winter and going from house to house, and he had a list of which people to go to. And on one of the lists he went to a certain rich man. And it was the winter in Europe's a brutal winter, snowy and everything. And he knew this rich man, he's been there before, and the man had white carpets, and the man had very nice tapestry furnitures and everything in his house. So Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman said, you know what, let me go through the back door. I don't want to ruin his house. And so he came through the back door and he was knocking. And the owner of the house opened the door and he saw Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman standing by the back door. He says, what happened? He says, I'm here for the yeshiva. He says, no. The man says, no. I'm asking why you're coming through the back door. He says, you know, I know what you got on the front. I know the fancy furniture, the fancy carpets. I didn't want to ruin them with my muddy, snowy boots. And the host tells, the rich man tells Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman, are you trying to ruin everything I taught my children? He says, what do you mean? He says, I taught my children from day one that there's nothing more valuable or important than Torah. And you're now walking in from the back to show them that carpet is more valuable than Torah. Go back to the front, walk on my carpet, ruin it all, so they can understand that Torah is the most important. Teaching children from a young age. There was a story that happened in Eretz Yisrael. That there was a family, husband and a wife, and they had an emergency in the middle of the night. And they had to run out. They had to run out in the middle of the night. And they told their neighbor, please take a look at our house, make sure everything's okay. Our little daughter is sleeping there. But we don't want to wake her up. You know, the neighbor's right next door. Just watch. You know, and as it happens all the time, the little girl woke up and there was no one in the house. She got scared. So what did she do? What does little girls who are scared do? She took out the phone. She took out the phone book. And she looked up the rabbi's number. And she called the rabbi in the middle of the night, waking him up out of his sleep. And she tells the rabbi, I'm scared, nobody's home. And the rabbi talks with her on the phone. He spends over an hour talking to her until the parents get back home. The father says, who are you talking to in the middle of the night when he walks in? And she says, I'm talking to the rabbi. He takes the phone and he says, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The rabbi hangs up. The next morning he goes to shul. He sees the rabbi again. He says, Rabbi, listen, I'm so sorry. I didn't know she was going to call you. I'm so sorry she called you up in the middle of the night. And the rabbi says to him, you have nothing to say sorry for. You've taught your child the best lesson ever. That whenever she has a problem, she should call the rabbi. She should go to the rabbinical guidance for whatever problem she has. There's nothing to say sorry for. Teaching children from a young age how important it is. That's the way you set on them a mark for life. And to teach children, we mentioned many times, doesn't mean to sit there with a book and a hammer and a ruler and hit them over the head and tell them stuff. It's teaching them by the way you act. When you act certain ways, they see it and they do the same exact things. So if you want to teach your children, like the Bnei Levi, they were going to the Mishkan and working back and forth, coming and going. That's what the kids saw. So they knew that that's the way life was. And that's important for us, for chinuch as well. To make sure to set right away. Not to waste time to later. One time, they say a story that a couple had a baby. And they went to the Rebbe. And they told the Rebbe, we want a bracha. And the Rebbe told them, you came too late. What? The baby was just born last week. The Rebbe said, yeah, you got to come to the bracha before you even conceive. Because you got to start influencing the child way before conception. Already the influence on the child begins. Let's move on to one more lesson on this week's parasha. This lesson comes from Rav Pam in his Sefer Darchei Noam by Rav Smith. We have in the parasha, in Perek Daled, Pasuk Yud Het Yud Tet, chapter 4, 18-19, verse 18-19, Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu to make sure that Bnei Kahat, the children of Kahat from the tribe of Levi, that they don't die. And assign for them assignments of which kelim they would carry when they are traveling in the Mishkan. What happened? So the Midrash fills us in. The Midrash says that Bnei Kahat knew that their job was to carry the vessels of the Mikdash. So what do? They all knew that what's the most important vessel? What's the most important keli in the Mikdash? The most important keli would be the Aron, right? The Kodesh Kodashim, the Aron. So everyone started to fight for the Aron. Everybody lined up, pushing, pulling, this, that, I want it. And it became a big problem. People started to fight. They were embarrassing the Shekhinah, the no kavod. And so people started to die. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, make assignments, assign jobs to who's going to do what. We can't have this bardak, we cannot have this problem. The Mesilat Yesharim, the Ramchal learns from here a concept that he calls Mishkal HaHasidut, which means that you have to weigh and think and analyze what you are doing. Even though you think you're doing a mitzvah, is it the right way to do it? Is it the appropriate way to do it? Rav Yisrael Salanter, the father of the Musar movement in Europe, says the story that happened with him. He once was invited to a Talmud's house for a seudah. It's a famous story. And he went to wash his hands for Netilat Yadayim. And he took the keli and he filled it up halfway, just enough to wash his hands. And he said the beracha. As he sat down for bread, one of his students, the student that he was hosting him, said to him, Rabbi, Rabbi, the Gemara in Nidarim tells us, the Gemara in Shabbat tells us that if a person uses a lot of Nitilat Yadayim, a lot of water Nitilat Yadayim, he's going to be blessed with a lot. And it's a true beracha. Use a lot of water, you're going to be blessed a lot. Why didn't you use it? Why did you lose a lot of water? Yisrael Stalanta said, I know that Gemara. And I also know where this water comes from. You see, Rabotai, in Europe that time they didn't have running water in the houses. He said, in this house there's a maid that works here. And the maid has to walk in the ice, in the cold, to go to the well and to get the water and then bring it back. It's dangerous, it's heavy, and it's exhausting. And why should I do a mitzvah on someone else's expense? It's not worth it. Bishkala Hasidut. To weigh our actions. Yes, to the big barachat, use a lot of water. But on whose expense? Go get the water yourself and use it. You have to pay attention to what's happening. Rav Pam says that the mitzvah of achnasat orchim, inviting guests, is a huge mitzvah. We all know this. But he says, at what expense? If the family doesn't have family time, except for Shabbat, maybe they shouldn't be hosting so many Shabbat guests every week. Should do it once in a while. In order to have the appropriate family time, if it's hard for the wife, you have to take that into consideration too. You can't do a mitzvah, Hazat Orhim, on someone else's back. You know, if you want to get in the kitchen and also help, go ahead and do that. It'll be easier on everyone. But you can't say, let's have guests, and meanwhile, you put everything else on someone else. That's not the way you do the mitzvah. Rav Pam mentions something that happened quite frequently. We all know, we've all seen it. Hopefully not. But he says you go to shul, and two people have a yard site, two people have soul, two people have to make kaddish, and they want to get the last aliyah, they want to get mashlim, or they want to pray for the amidah, they want to pray for the amud, and the only one can get, so two people start to fight. He says, think about it. You're trying to do a mitzvah, and meanwhile you're doing avirah, fighting about it, which is worse for the neshama than anything else. Mishkala Hasidut. Weighing our actions. The Hafetz Chaim, when he would have guests over for Shabbat, and if the guests were not such well-to-do guests and they were hungry, poor guests, he would skip Shalom Aleichem. He wouldn't sing Shalom Aleichem. He would start Kiddush right away so they can be able to eat. Not to waste time. Mishkala Hasidut. Weighing the actions. Rav Pam goes on to talk about weddings. He says a lot of time young guys go to the wedding and they want to live it up. And they keep the wedding band going and playing and playing. And they make the dancing continuing and continuing. People want to end it already. They need to go home. Babysitters need to go back. Parents need to go back. People need to go back to sleep. We'll start the next day. And meanwhile, these other people have nothing to do. They're making excitement. They're not thinking about anyone else. And Rav Pam says, a lot of times, Shalom Bayit problems all start because Mishkala Chasidut, someone is not weighing their actions. He brings an example here. This is the time before the cell phones were so popular. A wife makes dinner, makes her husband's favorite dinner. She prepares it on time. And the husband doesn't show up. And he comes home an hour and a half late. She's rewarmed it 3 times by now. And it's all ruined. And she says to him, why didn't you come home? I was waiting for you. And he says, oh, my friend needed a ride to the airport. So I took him. Very big mitzvah. But on whose expense? On whose expense? Mishkala Hasidut. It's crucial that when we do our mitzvot, we understand what we're doing and how we're doing it and how we're getting it done. And to make sure that it's done the best way, in the best fashion. Not hurting anyone else and making sure we're doing it and not on someone else's expense. We have to ask Hashem to siyati d'shemaya, from help from heaven, assistance from heaven, that we can weigh what we're doing and do the appropriate things. And to review what we learned tonight, to make sure that we are using our unique abilities to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Using our unique abilities to learn Torah and spread Torah. We also learned how it's important to influence children from a young age, so they could be counted in the army of Hashem already from young age, like the Nevi'im were counted from a month. And we learned how important it is to weigh our actions. Rabotai, it's my hope and my wish that we're able to share the stories and to share the Divrei Torah with our families. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we should be able to go back to our Mikdash Me'atz. And Be'ezrat Hashem, go back to the Beit HaMikdash Bekarov. There is no other solution other than Mashiach. Be'ezrat Hashem, Mashiach now. I want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. Mazal Tov again. Thank you all for coming and joining.
Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. Thank you. Mashiach now. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you. Shabbat Tov.
Shabbat Shalom. Be'ezrat Hashem for next week. As next week is Shavuot, is going to be Thursday night. We'll see if we can arrange something earlier. I can't guarantee it, but we're working on it. Natan Kaziev is here, and I talked to him about it. We're working on it, and Be'ezrat Hashem with Shir.com as well. Rabotai, this Shir will be on Shir.com. The Shir will also be on YouTube. It'll be sent around on WhatsApp. And Be'ezrat Hashem, let's publicize it. Let's get more people in, and we'll grow Mechael El Chayel Be'ezrat Hashem. Thank you, Yair. Thank you, Yafa. Thank you, El Natan. Thank you, Milo Sionov. Thank you, Gavriel. Thank you, Gavriel Sionov. Thank you, Yosef Haimov. Thank you, Milo Nisim. Thank you. Thank you, Natan Kazil, Abrot Chanimov. Me'ira. May she shine a light to all of us. Be'ezrat Hashem. Amen. Okay, Rabotai. Thank you, Binyamin, Malka. Thank you, TYH. Thank you, DLB. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, everyone. Shabbat Shalom Likulam.